Western audiences often approach Indian poetry expecting spiritual rumination and quiet beauty. The active reality of contemporary post-colonial verse operates through a different mechanic. Writers from the margins take the English language, the primary tool of their historical exclusion, and retool it to interrogate the very structures of power that establish their status. In this context, English carries a dual weight. It remains a residue of British colonialism, yet it has become the necessary mechanism for intercaste solidarity and a shared vocabulary of resistance across a linguistically divided subcontinent. This subversion relies on four specific mechanical strategies. We begin with myth inversion, the process of rewriting ancient history to confront modern institutions. These works function as a deliberate structural mechanism engineered to rewrite history from the margins. In the poem Eklaviyam, Meena Kandasamy identifies the ancient Mahabharata character Ekalavya as the archetypal Dalit student, a figure of immense talent operating without access to elite resources. The myth centers on Guru Dakshina. When Ekalavya's skills threatened the royal pupil, Dronacharya demanded his thumb as payment, crippling his merit to protect upper caste privilege. Kandasamy projects this onto higher education, where modern Dronacharyas practice academic terrorism, forcing marginalized students toward dropout and suicide. Instead of mourning the thumb, Kandasamy offers a strategy briefing. The loss of the right thumb leaves the left hand free. She moves away from the archaic bow and arrow, focusing on the trigger and the bomb as symbols of collective resistance. By weaponizing a canonical, sanctioned Hindu myth, the poet turns the foundational cultural logic of the system against itself. Resistance also operates at the individual female body. In an introduction, Kamala Das shifts the focus to the isolated struggle for self-definition. The confessional mode functions here as a strategic, public unburdening. It exposes systemic patriarchal violence by placing private, taboo subjects on the public record. Das initiates her rebellion through syntax. Critics and relatives demanded she stop writing in English, yet she claimed the language as her authentic voice, asserting that its distortions and queernesses belong to her alone. She uses blunt language to detail the trauma of child marriage, stripping away the cultural silence surrounding female bodily autonomy. To defeat the categorizers, demanding she fit specific roles, Das claims every contradictory identity at once, simultaneously the sinner and the saint. Total linguistic disclosure becomes the necessary first step to achieving freedom from patriarchal control. The critique reaches its macro level in the geopolitical body of the post-independence state. Pravin Godvi's Laughing Buddha examines a massive ideological contradiction. In 1974, the Indian government conducted its first nuclear test on the birth anniversary of Gautama Buddha, codenaming the operation Smiling Buddha. Henry Bergson's theory of laughter suggests the comic spirit requires a specific environment, an anesthesia of the heart, or a complete suspension of human empathy. Bergson's reciprocal interference of series occurs when two independent realities collide. Series A is the spiritual reality of the Buddha, a global symbol of peace. Series B is the cold military reality of the nuclear arms race and geopolitical dominance. This collision illustrates what Bergson calls the mechanical encrusted on the living. The state forces the frozen, mechanical mask of a smiling deity over the horrific fluidity of nuclear annihilation. Godvi uses dark satire as a corrective mechanism, using the state's absurd language to shatter the illusion that weapons of mass destruction equate to peace. Beyond state military power, the invisible residue of the British Empire remains deeply embedded in the Indian consciousness. Nassim Ezekiel maps this fracture in The Patriot. Ezekiel uses syntactical errors and Babu English to chart the psychological contours of a post-colonial mind. The speaker's grammar is the literal evidence of a colonial education that left the language behind as an inherited tool. The speaker praises ancient Indian wisdom while simultaneously seeking Western validation, reading English newspapers to improve his command of a foreign tongue. This is a self that has internalized nationalist pride and colonial aspiration without reconciling them. This fracture extends to the diaspora in Rachna Joshi's Leaving India. North America is visually perfect, clean, sanitized, and shining, yet the poet labels it sterile. It is a world free of myths and ruins, resulting in an emotional vacuum. The final simile describes 5,000 years of civilization, lying in wait like a doting grandparent, an image fusing deep affection with inescapable confinement. Geographical departure is revealed as an illusion. The cultural inheritance remains a hardwired component of the post-colonial consciousness. This journey has moved from the individual body to the caste system, from the nuclear state to the global diaspora. Across every scale, language has functioned as the primary site of subjugation. It is therefore the primary site of rebellion. These poets isolate the foundational codes of their society, the myths, the syntax, and the political narratives, and deconstruct them with specialized literary devices. The English language, once a tool of the British Empire, has been repurposed. Contemporary Indian English poetry acts as a form of intellectual judo, using the oppressor's own syntax, myths, and structures to engineer a critique of the system that created them.